Alright, no, sit. Okay, hi everybody. My name is Robin. This is my very first YouTube video, so thank you so much for tuning in. So this video is basically for amateur photographers. So if you just, let's say, took a camera course or you're learning how to do photography, then I will share with you what is exactly in my camera bag, what tools I use to take my pictures to the next level. So anyways, first let me start off by saying that the most important thing in photography is composition. You can have the fanciest equipment, but if you don't understand composition, if you don't go out there and shoot from the ground, get dirty, get cold, get wet, you know, really look for those unique angles or compose your picture so that your horizons are nice and straight, you know, you have those beautiful leading lines, or your imagery is beautiful, then no matter how expensive your camera is or how expensive your lens is, your photo is not going to translate. It's not going to be good. You can take wonderful pictures with your iPhone. You know, if you have that good eye and you're creative and you're inspired, then no matter what you use, your pictures will be great. Having said that, having the right equipment, the right filters, tripods, etc. can definitely help take your creativity to the very next level. So I'm here to share with you the things that I use and that I absolutely love and that have helped transform my pictures. So the camera that I use is my DSLR. It's a Nikon D3400. It's a starter, but you know what? I love it. It works for what I capture. I do landscapes, I do a lot of street shots, I do some portraits, and it works just well. So now that you have your DSLR, whatever that is, whether it's a Nikon, a Sony, a Fuji, a Canon, that's step number one, is having that body. Secondly, to me, very important are lenses. So I have 4 lenses. This is my Nikkor 35mm 1.8. And this is my portrait lens because it gives me that beautiful blurry background. I mean, it goes down as low as 1.8, so I absolutely love this for portraits, or if I want to bokeh the background, like if I'm isolating a little flower in nature and I really want everything else to really fade out, this gives me beautiful creamy backgrounds. Or even at night, like it'll get you those bokeh lights, those super cool glittery bokeh lights. So this is my portrait lens, my Nikon 35mm 1.8. Now this right here is my wide angle, and it's my absolutely most favorite lens. This is a wide angle. I do a lot of landscapes, and it's a 10 to 20mm Sigma, so it goes as wide as 10. It is perfect for storytelling and for exaggerating the size. So for example, with this lens, you have to really get down on the ground and get that size to look absolutely ridiculous. To me, with a wide angle, you have to commit to what it's intended for. If you just try to use a wide angle to do a basic landscape, it's not going to work well for you because your pictures are going to look very small. But I'll do another video on how to use wide angle lenses. But wide angles are perfect lens for landscape photography. You just have to get low on the ground. You have to find an interesting foreground, exaggerate its size, and connect it to the background. But I'll do another video of that because I can go on forever about my wide angle lens. I absolutely love my wide angle lens. It's my very best friend. I think I use it 80% of the time, but that's for the type of photography that I do. Third would be just a regular zoom, just something versatile, 18 to 135. So this is a Nikon 18 to 135. So it's good, you know, if you're just doing really any kind of photography. It's a nice, you know, versatile lens. You can do portraits, you can do action, you know, you can do zooming. Not crazy zoom, it's not a telephoto lens, but it's good, you know, it's just a good standard that if you had to, I guess, just choose one lens to purchase, this would be it for me, because it's very versatile. It's just a maverick. And then finally, I have a telephoto zoom lens. So this is a 70 to 300. I use this if I want to photograph wildlife, and it's far away. So when I go to the mountains and I see a bear, I always have this already on my camera when I'm driving because I want to be able to quickly focus on things that are far away. This is also great for compression, maybe photographing the moon. Anyways, it's good to have a good telephoto zoom lens, you know, if you're going to the zoo and you want to photograph the owls. This is just a really great lens to have. I mean, you have to be far away from the subject because you don't really get a lot of depth. You don't get a lot in your frame. So, I mean, be very mindful when you're using this. It's hard for me because I love using my wide angle. So from going to be able to capture everything that I see to something very specific, it takes some getting used to. But I do believe that it's necessary, especially if you want to capture wildlife. So those are my 4 lenses. I believe I have a little bit of everything for whatever I need. Some of them are new, some of them I bought on Kijiji. So there's ways to save money. So now we're going to talk about filters. You can get a UV filter, that's to protect your lens, but I don't know if it's really necessary, to be honest, because I always have my polarizers screwed onto my lenses, which does serve to protect the lens as well. So definitely get polarizers for all your lenses. Polarizers serve many functions. One would be to cut haze, cut glare from water. So if you're photographing water, it'll cut the glare from the water. It saturates colors and it makes your skies look absolutely beautiful. So if you're out shooting and it's a nice blue sky with some white clouds, it'll darken that blue sky, creating more contrast in your pictures. And these are effects that are very hard to replicate post-process, like in Lightroom or Photoshop. So definitely if you're out there and you're shooting landscapes, screw on your polarizer and you're good to go. So definitely invest in polarizers. I recommend brands like HOYA, PHOTOREPUBLIK. Those will not break your bank. You're averaging about between $30 to $80 depending on the size of your lens. But those are really great brands to go for. Some can be as expensive as $300, but I didn't spend that kind of money and I think my pictures are turning out just fine. So polarizer is definitely a must. And then ND filters are wonderful if you want to do long exposure photography. So an ND filter, let's see if I have one right here. So see, this is an ND filter. See how dark it is. This is a 1000 ND filter, so it's got 10 stops of light. So what I do is if it's a bright day and I'm out shooting waterfalls and I want my waterfalls to get nice and silky, I really slow down my shutter speed. This ND filter blocks light from entering, which allows you to slow down your shutter speed and get those silky waterfalls or get those skies that look like they're trailing. I do a lot of long exposure photography during the day. I absolutely love it. It makes my skies look very dramatic. It makes my water perfectly silky no matter the time of day. So even if it's a bright sky, I can still achieve that. So this is an ND 1000, but I also have one that's a little bit lighter, like an ND 64. So if it's just sunset and I don't really need to attach something this dark, then I go with my lighter ND filter and it works just as well. But you have to make sure that the lighting is a little bit darker. Let's say sunset, sunrise, that golden hour, and then you can get away with using like a softer ND filter. And I keep all my ND filters in a little pouch like this, and I have them organized by size. So here for my smaller lenses, my polarizer ND filter, polarizer ND filter, polarizer ND filter, etc. And I have one of those for every single one of my lenses. There's rings that you can buy to adjust, absolutely. I tried that, but the problem is you can see the ring on the side. Like when you take your pictures, the more layers you have, you'll get that black ring in your pictures, and then you have to crop it out. And I hate doing that. So I just get the one that fits my lens. The less layers you have and the less glass you have stacking on your filters, on your lens, then the better your pictures are going to be. The more glass you have. So if I have a UV filter and a polarizer and an ND filter, it's glass on top of glass on top of glass, and that is what I think is going to contribute to reducing the quality of your images. So now that we've covered your polarizers and your ND filters, here's more fun stuff. Tripod, absolutely necessary. I have this tripod which extends and gets higher, and then I have this little guy right here, which you can use to wrap around rocks, trees, fences, and you can mount your camera on this. This is a Gorilla one. You have to make sure that the weight is appropriate, because if you get a super cheap flimsy one, it's going to tilt. It's not going to be able to sustain your camera, and the last thing you want to do is wrap this around like a tree branch and then have your whole camera and your lens collapse and break. So I have this little guy right here, and then I have this guy. So why a tripod? If you are shooting anything, I would say over a second, maybe even less than that, your hands are gonna shake. And once your hands shake, you're gonna introduce blur into your photography. And you don't want that. So anything over a second, I would say set it on a tripod, make sure it's nice and sharp, and just set your shutter release, or you can press it. You can press the button depending how long it is, but I recommend putting the self timer for 2 seconds and then pressing the button, let the camera take the shot. That way there's absolutely no blur in any of your shots. And so yes, definitely a tripod if you intend on doing any kind of long exposure. In that, I would classify anything over a second. So really invest in a tripod. I mean, this one I bought off Amazon for $60 and I absolutely love it. And here, this thing right here, I didn't know what it was. You can use it to hold down. So if it's a really windy day, you can put a bag of rocks and anchor this, and it'll make sure that your camera and your lens don't tip over and break. And then last but not least is this wireless shutter. So this is basically a remote control for your shutter, for your camera. I use this when I'm doing really long exposures. So your camera will go as wide, like as long as 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Some cameras, I'm assuming 60 seconds. I don't really know, but for my Nikon, it'll go as long as 30 seconds. But what happens if I want to shoot something that's 3-4 minutes long? What I do is I set my camera on bulb mode. So go to shutter, priority, or manual, and set it. Go to manual and set it as bulb mode. Then you set yourself for the wireless. You click it, and it'll stay open as long as you want. It can stay open for 10 minutes. You know, I mean, that's as long as I've ever gone, because that's all I need. You can leave it open for 10 minutes, click it back, it'll close it, and then you'll have a 10-minute long exposure, a 4-minute long exposure, whatever it is that you need. So this, you can't do it if you don't have one of these little guys. This is about $30, and it definitely helps take your long exposures to an absolutely other level. I'll share with you some of my pictures that I've taken that are 4 or 5 minutes long, and you'll see exactly what I mean. But anyways, this is the material that I have, that I work with. So in summary, I have my 4 lenses, my polarizers, and my ND filters, which I absolutely love, and tripods, and my shutter. These are the basic tools that I have in my camera bag, which is right here. I have a good camera bag. It's ridiculous, I know it's huge, but you have to protect your gear. Don't throw it in your purse. Don't put it in a grocery bag. Make sure your gear is really protected. You've invested probably a small fortune, a couple $1,000s in all your gear. Make sure it's very well protected. I like to use it as a backpack because the equipment is heavy, and when I'm out for 3-4 hours shooting, I like to even out the weight on my back. So I would really recommend this over like a strap, unless you only have your one camera and your one lens, then that's fine. But this shit is hard, man. So now that I've covered everything that I have in my camera bag, I hope that you found that this information was useful. I hope that you go out and buy things and take your photography to the very next level. Feel free to leave me any comments, any questions. I'd love to hear your feedback. This is my very first video. And if there's any topic that interests you that you'd like to learn more about, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to make more videos. So stay tuned, and thank you so much.